Zara never planned on hiding a stranger in her stockroom. She just finished locking up for the night, wheeling her delivery cart through the alley behind the cafe, when a man came sprinting around the corner like his life depended on it. He crashed straight into her, sending coffee cups flying and boxes scattering across the wet pavement. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped, staring at the mess. "Sorry, I need to just, don't tell anyone He was breathless, glancing over his shoulder like someone was chasing him. She didn't wait for him to finish. She grabbed his jacket and pulled him through the back door just as a group of screaming voices passed by outside. The door clicked shut. Silence. He was still catching his breath when he reached up and pulled off his mask completely. Zara crossed her arms. "You've got 10 seconds to explain why I just hid a stranger in my stockroom." He looked at her, waiting for something. Recognition, maybe. It didn't come. "You really don't know who I am, do you?" he asked. "Should I be scared right now?" That was the first time Jihoon smiled at her. Not the practiced smile the cameras loved, something smaller, more real. He told her his name only after she threatened to call the police. Jihoon, just Jihoon, like that should mean something. She still had no idea it did. He offered her a ride home to make up for the mess. She said yes, mostly because she wanted answers, but the car didn't take her home. It pulled up outside a massive glowing building instead, lights reflecting off glass walls that stretched higher than anything on her street back home. "This isn't my house," she said. 5 minutes, he told her. "I just need to grab something, stay low." They ended up crouched behind a parked car in an underground garage, shoulder to shoulder, waiting for a security light to sweep past. Neither of them noticed the phone camera flashing from across the garage. By morning, Zara's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notification after notification. A blurry photo. Her face, half hidden but recognizable. His name trending everywhere, attached to words like mystery woman and scandal. "Oh no," she whispered, scrolling faster. "No, no, no." By the time she looked up from her phone, the whole city already knew. Screens in the subway stations played the story on loop. Strangers on the street whispered, comparing her face to the photo. Phones raised like she was something to be documented. She wasn't just a cafe worker anymore. She was a headline in a language she was still learning to read. Then the door chimed. Jihoon stood there, no cap, no mask, fully visible with a small crowd already gathering on the street behind him, cameras raised. "I'm not hiding this time," he said. She wanted to be angry at him. She wanted to tell him to leave, that she never asked for any of this, that she came to Korea to build a quiet life, not to end up trending on a stranger's phone. But the look on his face stopped her. He looked like a man who had spent his whole career hiding, and had just decided in front of everyone to stop. Behind closed doors, his company gave him an ultimatum. His career or her. He stood across the table from executives who didn't blink, didn't budge, who reminded him of contracts and comebacks, and everything he'd built since he was 17 years old. "She's a liability," one of them said. "You understand that, right?" Jihoon didn't answer right away. He was thinking about the sound of her laugh in that stockroom, sharp and unimpressed, completely unlike anyone he'd met in years. Everyone else treated him like an idea. She treated him like a mess she had to clean up. "Give me a week," he finally said, "before you make any decisions." That week he showed up at the cafe every single day, sometimes in disguise, sometimes not bothering anymore. Zara kept telling herself she'd tell him to stop coming. She never did. They talked about everything except the thing hanging over both their heads. She told him about her mother, who still called every Sunday asking when she was coming home. He told her about the first song he ever wrote, at 19, in a practice room at 2 in the morning, when he was too exhausted to sleep and too scared to quit. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked him one night, after closing, the two of them sitting on overturned crates in the back room. "All of it, the fame, the rules, the cameras." "Every day," he admitted, "but then I think about walking away from the one part of it that's actually mine, the music, and I can't do it." "And me?" she asked, quieter now. "Do I feel like a mistake?" He looked at her for a long moment. "You feel like the first real thing that's happened to me in years." The rival label executive's daughter, a rising actress named Sumin, made her feelings clear the moment she found out. She'd known Jihoon since they were trainees together, and everyone assumed one day they'd end up paired for a comeback, a drama, something the fans could root for. She showed up at his studio unannounced, dressed like she already belonged there. "You're really doing this?" she asked, arms crossed, echoing Zara's exact stance from that first night without either of them knowing it, throwing everything away for a foreigner who works in a cafe. "Her name is Zara," Jihoon said flatly, and she's not throwing anything away. I am if I have to. Sumin left without another word, but the damage was already spreading. Rumors, comparisons, articles questioning whether Zara was using him, whether she'd known who he was all along, whether this was some kind of setup. None of it was true. All of it hurt anyway. Zara's uncle, who owned the cafe, sat her down one evening after closing. He'd seen the news too. "You didn't come here for this," he said gently. "You came here to build something quiet, something yours." "I know," she said. "Are you sure this is worth losing that?" She didn't have an answer that night. She went home and stared at the ceiling for hours, thinking about her mother's voice on the phone every Sunday, about the quiet life she'd promised herself when she first landed in Seoul, and about the way Jihoon looked at her like she was the only unscripted thing in his entire world. 3 days later, Jihoon stood at a podium in front of a wall of cameras and microphones, his management team pale-faced behind him, bracing for whatever he was about to say. He hadn't told them his plan. He hadn't told Zara either. "There's been a lot of speculation," he began, voice steady despite the chaos in his chest, "about a woman photographed with me a few weeks ago. I want to clear something up." The room went silent. "Her name is Zara. She didn't ask for any of this. She's not a scandal. She's not a mistake. She's someone I care about, and I'm done pretending otherwise just to protect an image that was never fully true to begin with." The room erupted, questions flying from every direction, but Jihoon had already said everything he came to say. Zara watched it happen live, standing behind the counter of the cafe, her hands trembling around a cup she'd forgotten she was holding. He came straight to her afterward, cameras still trailing at a distance behind him. He walked through the door, breathless, the same way he had the very first night they met. "I don't know what happens next," he admitted. "The company might drop me, the fans might hate this, I don't know." "Why would you do that?" she asked. "Why would you risk everything?" He stepped closer. "Because you're the only person in this country who never once cared who I was. You just cared who I am." Outside, the city kept moving, cameras kept flashing, and somewhere a headline was already being written. But inside that small cafe, none of that mattered. Zara reached for his hand, and for the first time since that chaotic night in the alley, neither of them was running from anything at all.